Well, here's a classic case of biting off your nose to spite your face. Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and this is the breakdown. So, meet Tori Branum. She's running for Congress in Georgia. But that's not her claim to fame at the moment. Her claim to fame is that she bragged online that she was the one who tipped off ICE, which triggered the huge rage at the Hyundai factory in Georgia. So, for those who may not be aware, last week ICE descended on a Georgia plant and detained about 475 people. Those were mostly South Korean nationals. Now, ICE showed up literally with a judicial warrant looking for 4 people, and then they ended up snatching up 475. That's some interesting math, but I'll put that to the side for now. And so what was really unique about this raid, and I'll get back to Tori in a minute, don't worry, I'm not done with her yet. I'm just getting started. So what's unique about this is that the raid is unprecedented in terms of size. So, we've seen 20 people, 40 people. We saw a couple of weeks ago a legal cannabis farm that ended up losing a whole bunch of folks as a result of a raid in Los Angeles. Well, the Georgia one tops that. So it's huge in terms of size. And what's also unique is who was targeted, because we have not heard a lot about Southeast Asian folks or folks of Asian descent being caught up in these immigration type raids. So that's what was kind of folks got taken aback by that. But was also interesting, and here's where Tori comes into play and would probably do well to maybe pick up a book, look at stats, something along those lines. This plant is one of the largest economic drivers in the state of Georgia. So Hyundai Motor Group started manufacturing electric vehicles, and this plant is a $7.6 billion plant, all right? So they started manufacturing electric vehicles there about a year ago. This site employs about 1,200 people, and this is in a largely rural area, about 25 miles or so west of Savannah. So the Korean nationals who got snatched up in this whole incident, none of them worked for Hyundai per se. About 50 of them worked for LG Energy Solutions, and another 250, mostly Korean nationals, worked for HLGA Battery Company LLC, which operates under Hyundai and LG. So in other words, they're basically like subcontractors working on building batteries for electric vehicles. So this site where the raid happened, it's a 2,900 acre complex. On one side, it's the Hyundai electric vehicle manufacturing site. And on the other side is the EV battery plant that's still under construction, which is the joint venture between Hyundai and LG. So when the plant is finished, it's projected to employ up to 8,500 people. 8,500 people, right? And those were going to be, in all likelihood, Georgia residents, right? I mean, because again, you got to pull from the area that's around. And then if you can't find enough folks, then you supplement with workers from other countries. So this raid completely shut down construction, right? So that was a wrap. So everything is on freeze right now. And then not to mention that, it's triggered an international incident. So South Korea's foreign minister said that more than 300 South Koreans were among the 475 people detained. They said that some did cross illegally, but, the majority of them had some kind of status. And an immigration attorney representing some of the detained workers said the same thing, that, listen, my clients arrived from South Korea under the visa waiver program that allows them to travel for tourism or business for stays of 90 days or less without a visa. So, they had legal grounds to be there. And so at present, most of the people who were detained were taken to an immigration detention center near the Florida state line, and none of them have been charged with any crimes yet. None of them. So remember that whole thing about, we're just going after the bad people. We're just going after the criminals. Yeah. None of these folks, 475 of them, none of these folks have been charged with a crime. So there's that. And so the South Korean Foreign Ministry again issued a statement that the business activities of our investors and the rights of our nationals must not be unjustly infringed in the process of U.S. law enforcement. In other words, y'all better use that due process. Don't just randomly snatch up people just because, right? So the South Korean government has even gone so far as to send a chartered flight to bring all their people back home, which is very unique. Normally, governments don't charter a flight to take their nationals home. So this is very, very interesting to watch unfold. But let's get back to our bad girl, Tori. All right. So she's she's bragging that she called ICE, that she was the one that kicked this off. But her beef was that they weren't hiring local Georgia residents. Okay. Meanwhile, the project isn't finished, right? Because remember, I said earlier, the plant was projected to hire approximately 8,500 people when it was completed. So you're already snitching on the people and they didn't even finish doing what they needed to do yet. All right, so there's that. And then on top of that, you're going to now start beef with a multi-billion-dollar corporation that's pouring money into your community. Because trust and believe, okay, maybe your beef is, oh, they're not hiring Georgia residents. But those 475 people that got snatched up, trust and believe, they're buying from local stores. So that's money going into the community. They're renting or staying somewhere locally, right? So that's more money going into the community. They're paying taxes because you can't work without giving some kind of money to the IRS, documented or undocumented. And that's the thing people don't realize. Undocumented people still pay taxes. They just can't get Social Security or get any of those benefits because they're undocumented. But the US government still gets their money. So there's that. And so now, of course, she's over here bragging, thinking she's doing something. And of course, she got all the smoke that the internet had to give. And one person posted on X that if Hyundai pulls out of Georgia and we lose 8,500 jobs, who should we thank? Tory's trying to keep Georgians from getting jobs. Now, to be clear, I don't co-sign internet bullying. That's not cool. But don't start none, won't be none, right? You went out there looking for this drama. And she, of course, now is trying to pivot from the, this is getting really bad people and blah, blah, blah. And it's all about, jobs for my people. And now she's talking about, well, from what I understand, this really wasn't a criminal raid anyway. It was more of a humanitarian raid. So if it was a humanitarian raid, then you're basically saying that these people were victims or survivors of human trafficking. Well, then why did they all get frisked, handcuffed, and taken away? Because usually, last time I checked, that's not how we treat survivors of human trafficking. You bring them in, you debrief them, you try to figure out who's the person that brought you in. You're trying to put a case together. But if you're just slamming, cuffs on people and throwing them in a detention center, that's not telling me that there's a human trafficking investigation going on. And again, to see the South Korean government have to go and charter a flight to bring folks back home, again, they're not acting like these are victims. So again, she jumped into something, not even knowing the full facts, and she created an entire mess. And so this is just a reminder that this entire enforcement that we're seeing, this is not about getting criminals or bad people. Because if it was, they wouldn't be showing up to job sites where people are actually working and contributing to society. If your issue is about locals not getting hired, first off, did they apply? Were any of them qualified? And on top of that, the whole drama around, they're taking jobs, this and that. Listen, the smoke needs to be whoever negotiated that deal, if you really think Georgians are not getting jobs. And Hyundai had bragged in conjunction with the state of Georgia that this was this great collaboration and we're so excited to, be in this community and all of that. Well, in the negotiations, the state of Georgia should have insisted that there should be an allocation of X amount of spots for local Georgia workers or whatever the case may be. If they were too greedy to not put that provision in, that's not between Hyundai and the people of Georgia. That's between the people of Georgia and their government. So let's not get that twisted. I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and this was The Breakdown. Make sure to continue to support our channel to get more of this content around the foolishness that's going on in this administration. Like, subscribe, comment, and take care.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.